Hello, I am Subhadeep Banerjee, working as a PhD student under the guidance of Dr. Yamijala Chetan Sharma, and I am working in the field of energy storage materials. Now, I am going to going to discuss about our work that entitled as Studying Cobalt Anti-MXenes as Anode Materials for Sodium Ion Batteries. Cobalt Anti-MXenes. This is actually a newly developed material whose unit cell is is showing here in the dotted rectangle. The atomic arrangement of the unit cell is the transition metal element that is showing in the blue sphere is sandwiched by the non-metal atomic layers, and this is actually exactly opposite to the atomic arrangement observed in the MXenes unit cell, and therefore this type of material are named as anti-MXenes. Until now, there are 24 stable anti-MXenes was observed, which is listed below. And among the first row transition metal cobalt-based anti-MXenes we have chosen to perform as anode materials for sodium-ion batteries. Now, before going to the performance details of these materials, I would like to discuss about the characteristics of a good anode material. First of all, the material should be stable and it should possess some kind of stabilities like thermodynamical stability, mechanical stability, thermal stability, dynamical stability, etc. Next, the material should have high enough affinity towards the metal ion so that we will obtain high specific charge capacity value. And since we are studying the anode materials, the voltage from this material should be in lower range, so that from the overall cell we will get the higher range voltage values. And the charge discharge rate is directly related with the metal atom diffusion energy barrier. Therefore, metal atom diffusion energy barrier should be low enough on this material surfaces. And finally, we all expect that the materials should run a long time. So every charge discharge cycle, the deformation should be low enough. Here, among these five characteristics, first one is already discussed by the previous work. The remaining four points here I am going to discuss for this materials. So these are the optimized structure of the cobalt anti-MXenes. First row is the top view, and the second row is this side views. And the electron localization function plot shows that there is ionic interaction among the constituents which actually stabilize the system. To check their metallic character, we have performed the band structure and projected density of state calculation, and we observed that each system are the metallic in nature, which is actually a benefit for the good electrode material. Next, to check their affinity towards the sodium metal atom, we have performed the adsorption study, and based on the geometry of the structure, we have observed there are 6 possible adsorption sites which are shown here from S1 to S6. Among these 6 possible adsorption sites, only 3 sites, S1, S2 and S3, are the stable sites for sodium atom adsorption. The from the given adsorption energy values, we can see the from all the structures, S3 is the most stable site, then S1, then S2, and the adsorbent height and the Bader a net better charge on the adsorbate atom clearly depicts the adsorption stability order. To further understand the adsorption stability order, we have performed the charge density difference calculation. Here we can see that the amount of charge that is depleted from the adsorbed sodium atom is actually distributed through 4 non-metal atoms at S3 site adsorption. The number reduces to 2 non-metal atoms for the S1 site adsorption, and it further reduced to only 1 non-metal atom for the S2 site adsorption. Therefore, this clearly depicts the variation of the adsorption stability at various sites for all cobalt anti-MXene surfaces. So up to this study is we have confirmed that this material have a high enough affinity towards the sodium metal atom. Next, to check the charge discharge rate, we have performed the sodium metal atom diffusion from one most stable site S3 to its nearest neighbor most stable site S3, and based on the geometry we have observed that there are 3 possible diffusion paths that are depicted here as path 1, path 2, and path 3, which transition states are S1, S6, and S2 respectively. And based on the climbing image Nash elastic band calculation, we have observed that path 1 is the most feasible path for the sodium atom diffusion. Therefore, we have studied the sodium atom diffusion through this path 1 for all cobalt anti-MXenes, and we have observed that the ranges of the sodium atom diffusion energy area is within 0.32 to 0.59 electron volt, which is moderate range for the sodium atom diffusion. Next, to check their energy storage capacity, we have performed the multi-layered sodium atoms loading on the cobalt anti-MXene surfaces, and based on the adsorption energy values, we observed that we can load up to 3 layers sodium atom on both sides of cobalt arsenic, cobalt boride, cobalt phosphide, and cobalt selenide surfaces. For cobalt silicon surfaces, it is only 2 layers, and for cobalt sulfide, we found the maximum 4 layers we can load. And the stability of this loaded structure can be explained from this right hand side ELF plot, that for the first layer sodium atoms loading, this actually interacts with the non-metal atom of the cobalt anti-MXene through ionic interaction, and for the higher layer sodium atoms, the metallic type of electron density actually reduces the metal and repulsion and stabilize the system. So during this multi-layer sodium atoms loaded, we plotted the metal atom insertion voltage as a function of the sodium atom concentration, and we observed that for the maximum concentration, the voltage reduces to close to 0. This depicts that the reduction potential of the material close to the reduction potential value of the Na plus Na pair, which is a good indicator for a good anode material. For the maximum sodium atoms loaded structure, this calculated specific charge capacity is shown in this figure B. Since cobalt sulfide can load a maximum of sodium atoms layer, for cobalt sulfide it is maximum, then it is cobalt boride. Since cobalt boron since boron is the higher atomic weight element, and all other anti-MXene are close to the 400 and higher amount of higher specific charge capacity value, and these specific charge capacity values are actually superior to some titanium, vanadium, niobium based MXenes material. Now, to check the stability of the maximum sodium atoms loaded structure, we have performed the AIMD simulation, and we observed that after 15 picosecond of time, there is no coagulation of the sodium atoms, and no structural deformation was also observed for the entire structure. The free energy fluctuation is also very low. It is less than 1 electron volt up to 15 picosecond of simulation time. Therefore, we can say that the structures are thermally stable at 300 Kelvin temperature. Next, we have performed another calculation to check the deformation for the sodium metal atom insertion. For the single sodium atom insertion, the layer thickness actually expands up to 0.86% only, and this is very low compared to the sodium atom single sodium atom insertion in graphite, which is around 40%. And for the maximum sodium atoms loaded structure, the expansion is around 266%, which is comparable with titanium based MXenes material, which was observed around 268%. Therefore, from this competition, we can say that our studying cobalt anti-MXenes material deformation is not much high, so we can get the reversibility from these materials. And finally, at the conclusion, based on all our studies, we can say that cobalt boride and cobalt sulfide are the best anode materials among these 6 cobalt anti-MXenes, which gives the specific charge capacity close to 600 milliampere-hour per gram. And the average sodium insertion voltage is also low enough, so from which we can predict that total cell voltage will be in higher range. And the sodium diffusion energy barrier value is also in moderate ranges. So overall, we can say that cobalt anti-MXenes are a promising anode material for sodium ion batteries. Thank you.